Can you see my screen?
Yeah. You can go to that full presentation.
Okay. I'm just changing my screen. Just let me know if you are still able to see that one.
Sure, I'll just start now.
Yeah, I've changed my, I've just for this thing, I've tried
Yes,
changing my
yes.
screen. You are still
Yeah,
able to see the old one, right?
definitely. Yeah. So we can go to that
Oh,
full presentation mode now. All right. So I'll start. All right, everyone. So, very good evening. My name is Anugrah, and today we will be discussing on the topic impact of COVID-19 on analytics industry. And we have our alumni Parul Obrai with us, who is working as an associate director in advanced analytics and artificial intelligence at Fractal Analytics. Please feel free to post your queries on the chat window, and we'll be taking all the questions which will be relevant to this topic discussion at the end of the presentation. So without any further ado, let's start with the presentation. Over to you, Parul.
okay, great. Thanks, Anugrah. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope you all are doing safe in this current pandemic. So, because at the topic of our presentation today in itself is COVID-19, even though we are almost at the end of 20, but still the pandemic, which started, sometime similar time last year, we're still seeing the impact across industries, and it's a very relevant topic to understand. And how has been the impact, particularly on the analytics industry. So before I jump into the agenda for this for the conversation today, I'll probably brief a little bit about myself. So as Anugrah mentioned, I'm currently working at Fractal Analytics. I work as an associate director. I have almost 11 to 12 years of experience across different analytics and consulting firms. And before joining Fractal, I had worked with Bridge Eye Analytics, which is another analytics firm. I worked with some consulting firms like Frost and Sullivan, and also a credit rating firm, which is Crisil. And my role at Fractal is comprising of leading the delivery and consulting engagements. Currently, I work as part of the CPG domain, but I have worked across domains from financial services, technology, and telecom. And I am an alumnus of Great Lakes. I did my post graduation in analytics in the year 2016. It's been more than 4 years since I graduated. And I have also done my MBA from SPJN School of Global Management. I'm an engineer in computer science. I have also added a couple of white papers that I've written for other industries. So it's on Fractal website. I mean, in case any one of you is interested in going and reviewing our point of view on the impact of COVID-19 on corporate banking, which is one of the industries I had worked in the past, and also the impact on the ICT, which is technology and telecom. So in case if any one of you is interested, please feel free to go to our website on Fractal, and also feel free to download the white paper and go through it. All right. So moving forward, the agenda for next 30 minutes, we will be covering a few pointers on how the analytics industry has shifted amidst the pandemic. It's been almost a year. In India, of course, the pandemic came around March, late March, so it's been almost 7 months. So we'll see how the analytics industry has shifted, what has been the impact across regions, what are the opportunity areas, what are the challenges which different organizations are facing, and also the talent pool, especially the data science professionals are facing. How does the job market look like? And basis my personal experience, if I could also help in what we can do in the current scenario, which is going to help us in the coming future. So, and then of course, after almost like 30 minutes, we'll open for Q&A, and please feel free to post your questions that you may have. Okay, so yeah, great. So in terms of how the market has changed in last in last almost a year or so. Despite a lot of people who would have thought that analytics is also an industry which has been hit hard by the pandemic, the contrarian view is that the industry has actually grown and is set to grow in next 1 year or so. So if we see in terms of the CAGR, which is compounded annual growth rate, it has grown by almost 16% from 2019, which was last year, until 2021, which is the next year. We are going to see a CAGR of almost 16%, wherein the overall global analytics market size is expected to grow from 25.4 billion USD to almost 34 billion in the year 2021. And some of the reasons that could be attributed to this growth is, of course, the fact that digital transformation is something which is driving a lot of this change, which is happening, because the change is now happening at a very rapid pace. A lot of companies who were not thinking on digital transformation are are keen in doing that digital transformation, and also automation, right? For example, because most of the organizations are now working from home, there is less people who are in office, so most of the work is also getting outsourced and also getting automated. So there is definitely a need and an increased spending that we are seeing across organizations in data and analytics. And also the fact that remote services and increased remote working is also something that is seeing the investment in analytics to be grown further. Now, if we also look at across regions, right? So, 1 second. Yeah. So, if we look at across regions, North America is, of course, the highest share it holds, and it has been historically as well. It still continues to hold the highest market share in terms of the global analytics market. But what we are also seeing in the forecasted year, which is from 2019 to 2021, we are seeing that APAC, which is most of the developing countries in APAC, and it also includes developed markets like Australia, they are also seeing significant growth and is bound to see growth over next 1 year. Which of course is also followed by Latin America, which will also see the highest growth in terms of the CAGR. So while in terms of size, North America still leads, but in terms of the growth, most of the developing nations are seeing, and most of the growth is going to be driven from these developing nations. Now, moving forward, sorry, 1 second. I think not able to. Okay, great. So in terms of some of the opportunity and challenges per se that we can probably look at is, I personally do feel that yes, it's an exciting time for the analytics industry, and that's primarily because most of the organizations are looking in spending in analytics, be it captive, be it consulting firms, be it IT firms. They are looking to invest in analytics, and that's primarily because to increase their operational efficiencies and also to reduce costs. While the initial cost may look huge, but from an operational OPEX perspective, the cost realization is much higher, and that's why organizations are willing to invest in it. And of course, to go away with the traditional siloed approach of on-prem and going towards more cloud-based solutions is something which the organizations are also looking at. If we look at the spread across different industries, right? Healthcare has seen spectacular growth in last, I think 7-8 months. There is no other industry, healthcare and pharmaceuticals, that has the kind of growth that they have seen is being huge. And of course, because it's a health crisis that we all are going through, and certainly a lot of funding has gone into the healthcare industry. And in fact, even in consulting firms, if you see, a lot of growth is being driven by the healthcare industry in particular. So I think this is one sector which I particularly feel is going to grow in next 1 year for sure. The another area which is bound to grow and has seen significant growth is the e-commerce. And the reason we of course know is because most of us are at home, and most of the spending has been online. When the pandemic came in, most of the vendors were not taking cash. So most of the payments were online and digital, and hence e-commerce is one area which has the likes of Amazon, for example, have seen huge growth in last 6 7 months. Cloud services is also something which will definitely continue to grow. And the reason, of course, as we spoke, that most of the organizations, even though a lot had moved from on-prem to cloud, but it's something which is bound to grow, like Amazon AWS or Google GCP and even AWS. I think all these services, Azure, all these are going to see increased investments in the coming few months. Now, when we talk about CPG and retail, it's also another area which has grown definitely, but with slight caution that a lot of focus has been on essential services, because most of the people are at home, and the kind of services that people are more comfortable spending in is the essential care and day-to-day care and food especially as well. When we look at personal care, largely the beauty industry, which includes the personal care and also the luxury high-end products, it has seen tough time because most of the people are at home and they are not going out, and hence the spending on luxury items has been less, while on essential services has been pretty high. When we talk about banking and financial services, I think, of course, it has been not that great year for them for sure. But when I look at corporate banking, for example, it has been in significant pressure because a lot of small and medium enterprises, typically go to corporate banks for loans. And given in the current pandemic, most of the small and medium enterprise businesses had been hit the most. And while they are going to take loans from these corporate banks, there are high chances of defaulters in coming few years. And that's why this whole economic recession that people are talking about is corporate banking is going to play a huge role in that. How do they ensure that the bad loans and the defaulters are at the minimum? Because in my personal opinion, that's defaulters are going to increase. Most of the people are not able to go to repay their loans, especially the small and medium enterprises. So how do they look to balance between growing the economy and also not giving bad loans is something that they are in huge pressure. And also, I think one of the areas, especially within telecom and banking financial, which has seen huge amount of, I would say, volume is the call center. Because when the pandemic set in last in around March or so, in the first 3 or 4 months, most of the banks and also some bit of telecom firms had seen their contact center being hit with huge volume of queries from consumers to customers, because people were under panic and there were huge growth. In fact, when I was reading one of the articles, one of the interviews actually by NBA, which is National Bank of Australia, their CEO said that the call volume that we have seen in 1 month, it has been equivalent to what we have seen in last 1 year. So it just tells the kind of panic which people were in. Of course, now things have settled in and people have come to terms with the whole pandemic situation. But dating back to somewhere around May and June, that was the scenario like. But even though, while we are talking about different industries and the kind of challenges they have faced during last 6 7 months, for a lot of firms, it had also been a time which brings in product innovation. So, for example, if I talk about CPG industries, a lot of manufacturers, even pre-COVID, they were under pressure to innovate their products. And now it has come to reality because they don't have any other choice to actually look for innovations in their product and how they sell the product to the end consumers. So, for example, L'Oreal, is one of the manufacturers. Uh, they are now in Singapore. They had rolled out a virtual try-on products campaign where you can virtually try on products using augmented reality, and you can go then and purchase your products. So industries are innovating in their own shape and form because they know the pandemic is not going to go away anytime soon. So they have to innovate, and a lot of them have actually started doing innovations. So I do feel that that's an opportunity area for them, for many industries to actually look for innovation in the time of crisis. Moving forward, I think, and of course, this is an interesting area, that how has the job market changed in last 7-8 months. So if you look at if we divide the whole time period into two parts, the first quarter, which was April, May, and June, and the second quarter, which was July, August, and September. So I think the first quarter had been tough because there was a lot of panic, a lot of layoffs had been happening, and most of the people were in this fear of losing job, and even across levels. I mean, I'm not talking about freshers in particular or senior people, but across levels there had been panic. But things have settled down in last couple of months, and we have seen a surge in demand starting August, because as I was telling you, one time around in May, the sector had hit an all-time low when there was the lockdown situation in which everybody was in. In terms of the total number of jobs which were available on different portals as on August, it has been almost 1 lakh jobs, and this is as per a survey which was done by Great Learning in one of their magazines. I refer to this number, which is quite at par with the numbers last year. So yes, the start had not been that great, but the market has picked up in last few months. And in terms of the different tiers, especially in tier one, Bengaluru continues to create maximum jobs, contributing to almost 23% of the market in India. And another interesting thing which we have also seen is that now companies are more open, because if you look at pre-COVID, most of the jobs were either in Bangalore or Pune or Gurgaon or Mumbai. But because now the location doesn't matter and most of the companies are not going to resume anytime soon, most of the companies are now open for candidates even who are based in tier 2 or tier 3, given the current situation that everybody is working remotely. So that's a little bit on the job market. Moving forward, I think we'll take and spend maybe another 5-10 minutes on how has the pandemic fared, and what kind of opportunity and challenges it's bringing to both the organizations and the data science professionals. So if you talk about the companies in general, I think one of the interesting things that, and it's not actually interesting, it's a sad part that companies have seen, is that there has been significant attrition, and which is very contrary to the view that a lot of people had when the pandemic started in. Because as I was telling you, around April, May, and June, that first quarter of this financial year, there was a lot of pandemic, and people wanted to save their jobs, and people were not willing to move. But in last few months, I think most of the companies, at least the companies that I know of, have seen significant attritions, and the attrition is pretty huge at slightly junior levels. When I say junior, is anything less than 5 years, between 3 to 5 years, has been the attrition has been more, and that's because the market has opened up. There are too many jobs. People are working from home, so you don't know if they are talking to recruiters and talking to companies. And because when people are working at office, right, you can their pattern. Okay, he's going to leave or she's going to leave. But when people are working from home, there is no way for the managers to know who is looking outside versus who is not. So attrition has been a problem ever since the market has opened up in last couple of months, and definitely companies are grappling with that challenge. Another challenge which I do feel a lot of organizations, and that applies to many organizations, not just analytics organizations, is that there has been an increase in challenge in motivating employees, uh, given the fact that everybody is working from home. Uh, a lot of people had, especially when the pandemic had started last in the first 3-4 months, people were juggling their home responsibilities and their official commitments and everything. It was tough, and it has been tough, and it will continue to be tough for companies to keep motivating employees in the current challenging scenario that we all are in. And also, even though, of course, I spoke that analytics as an industry is doing fairly well when compared to other industries, but still, because we don't know when things might resume to normal, and certainly even for analytics firms, some business had been lost, which means reduced revenues, and which means cost cutting measures are there in play. And most of the organizations are doing that, not just analytics firm, but most of the organizations are being efficient with how they optimize costs, uh, which also, of course, means that less rewards for employees, even though employees are working even more than the pre-COVID time. People just feel that they are not being rewarded as much as they would like to. And another challenge which the companies are also facing is the this whole process of virtual onboarding. Um, I, of course, have not changed my company, so I don't know how it feels like to be virtually onboarded. But I have heard from a lot of my friends and people who have, for example, joined my team recently. It's a very unique scenario, right? I mean, we have never witnessed, any one of us has never witnessed in our entire career, uh, that you are virtually onboarded, and you have never seen your colleagues, you've never seen your boss, you've never looked at your company from inside. So it's of course challenging for new joiners in that ways to actually feel that connect with your organization, and for the organization also to get that kind of faith in the new joiners, because there is no physical connect which is there, right? So of course, things have been tough for the organizations. And now if you talk a little bit on how it has been for the data science professionals, then certainly the good news is that the number of jobs have increased in the market. So that's a good news for most of the data science professionals. Uh, but with the increased number of jobs, what I also feel that it has led to increased competition also. And why is it so? Because earlier, if you see in pre-COVID times, most of so for example, if I'm in Delhi NCR, right, I will be more inclined to apply to jobs which are in my area. For example, if somebody is in Bangalore, that person is more inclined to apply there. But now companies are of course open to people from other locations also, given the fact that most of the onboarding and everything is happening remotely, right? So it doesn't matter if the person is in a different location. Of course, eventually they may have to move to that location, but we don't know when that's going to happen, right? So certainly the number of resumes for a particular position have also increased, and hence there is increased competition in the market as well. And I think when I compare slightly more junior level to senior profiles, I think for freshers, for sure, it has been tough, because and that's because of a couple of reasons. Because one, of course, you're just graduated, you're looking to enter in industry, and you're hit by a pandemic. even though if you land up a job, the onboarding is slightly tricky at this point of time. And even from companies' perspective, they are more inclined to take experienced people rather than onboarding fresher and then training them. So I feel that for freshers, yes, it has been slightly more challenging when compared to more experienced folks. Then another challenge which I do feel is that the learning process has somewhere got isolated. And because the data science as a profession is something which requires you to brainstorm, collaborate with your peers, because you're solving a business problem. So you need more collaboration. But now, when everybody is working from home, you are mostly working independently. Yes, there is conversations through virtual portals and everything, but you still tend to kind of get deprived of the feel of brainstorming while you are in an office group, or the learning process, as I said. So that is definitely a drawback, and some people are definitely feeling that it has led to reduced productivity and efficiency as well, because they are, for one problem, they now have to think through more. While earlier, if you are in an office like environment, you can go to a meeting room, you can talk through different problems, and you can come up with solution a lot faster as compared to when working virtually. Another thing which is pretty interesting is that not just the full-time jobs, but even the contract-based hiring, is seeing a rise, and that's because there are because of two reasons. One is, of course, the cost cutting measures. As I spoke, that companies are undertaking cost cutting measures. So certainly contract based hiring, if rather than a fixed cost for onboarding, let's say a particular scale, you're only hiring that person for a project or 2 or 3 months, and then that's it. So that's of course one of the reasons. And second is, of course, because people are working remotely, people have more time at hand. So you will see a lot of freelancing, and people are doing a lot more freelancing now as compared to earlier. So that's another area which I feel is seeing a rise. But yeah, on the contrary, especially in the consulting firms, we are seeing now less on-site opportunities because of reduced travel and everything, and we don't know when that's going to open up. So a lot of on-site opportunities have stopped or have hung up. People who wanted to move for projects or trying out various options outside India, I think that has stopped, and we really don't know when. At least another 6 months, I don't see that to be going back to normal. So that's a little bit on the opportunities and challenges which both companies are facing. Some challenges, some opportunities they're seeing, and also the data science professionals, some challenges they have witnessed, and overall a lot many opportunities as well. So moving forward, I think since we spoke a lot on how the current scenario has been, what are some of the things which I feel that everyone who is part of this industry or wants to join this industry can do in the current scenario? So first and foremost, I feel that it's extremely critical to upskill yourself. And I can totally understand that when people are virtually working, the kind of motivation is not that high, but it's the right time to actually take up online courses, virtual courses, brush up your skills. Uh, in fact, I was very surprised. I mean, the kind of certifications that I've seen on LinkedIn in the last 5-6 months has been huge. Every now and then, people are taking up the courses and posting on their LinkedIn profile. So certainly, I mean that shift is there, and it's a great time to upskill yourself. Uh, while people are complaining, but I personally feel that there could not be a better time than this, where you have so much time at hand. You are not going out anywhere. It's a great time to start a new course. It's a great time to upskill if you have any existing skills. And a lot of companies, even online firms, institutions are giving courses. Some are free, some are paid. So it totally depends on you which course you want to enroll in. Another thing which I would also love to point out is that if you remember, I spoke about cloud computing technologies going on the rise. So I think a lot of engineering skills, especially around Azure, AWS, GCP, they are coming in huge demand. So while historically people have focused a lot more on data science, I feel a lot more engineering skills are very critical if you're able to pick up at least one of them along with one of the visualization skill. It could be a Tableau or a Power BI. We have seen a lot of growth in Power BI actually in last many years, and certainly it's at least one engineering and one visualization skill is good to have. Uh, and another thing which I would like to point out is that while for sure there are too many jobs in the market, and I'm sure you guys would be getting calls from recruiters and everything. I would suggest that don't just move for the sake of it, right? I mean, because yes, market has opened up, but in terms of the scenario, we are still not yet over this whole pandemic, and we don't know till when it's going to go. So I would suggest that if you're not facing any major challenge in your current organization, if you're not being forced to move out or anything, just don't move for the sake of it, because moving into a new organization at this point of time can be very challenging also. You don't know about the culture of the organization, you don't know, you've never seen the organization. Unless and until if there is a real need, you're going through major challenges or you have been laid off or anything, only in those cases, yes, you need to probably look for a backup. But if there is no major challenges, then I would suggest that you stick to your current company, upskill yourself, learn new skills, and then when things go better, then maybe you can plan your career in a better way. Another thing, of course, I think because collaboration, etc., has gone for a toss, try to over network with your peers. Maybe take out some time, post it on LinkedIn. Uh, Maybe if you've done a new project, you can put about it, write white papers around it. So try to over network to compensate for whatever loss of collaboration that we all are witnessing. And last but not the least is, just be patient, because I know it's very easy to say, but this situation that we all are in, it's there. Of course, things are getting better and things are going to get better only. So we have to come to terms with this is a new norm of working. We have to adapt ourselves with the changing dynamics, changing industry dynamics, and also of course the way we deal with our clients, for example. So for example, the clients that I'm working with, it sometimes feel overwhelming because I've never seen any one of them, right? We are just talking through the virtual modes and you have to develop relationships like that. It's tough, right? But this is the new norm and we all have to adapt and do our best in the current situation that we are in. So yeah, I mean, I've spoken a lot for the last 30 minutes. We're still another 25 minutes. So I'll open up for Q&A now. And then, of course, I'll try to answer whatever best I can. And if I'm not able to answer any of the questions, then I'll let you know. But yeah, I think
Yeah, thank you so much, Parul, for the wonderful presentation and the insights. So everyone, we will start with the Q&A now. And if in case you have any questions, please feel free to post those questions on the chat window and we'll be taking it up. So Parul, the first question that we have got is from Garvit Poddar. He is asking where to read these interviews as you have given an example in one of the slides.
where to, I'm sorry?
Where to read these interviews. I think there was a slide related to the interviews. So like
Interviews, is
yeah,
it?
where people can refer for interviews.
I mean, whoever has asked, can you pay? Because I mean, I'm not sure on which slide I spoke about interviews.
I think it was slide 6.
No, no, it's not like slide 6. Interviews or white paper? I'm not sure which one are we talking about here.
Yeah, I think the question is related to interviews only.
Okay, I am not sure where I have spoken about. I mean, whoever has posted, can I request if you can? I'm not sure, Anugrah, how we can.
Yeah, definitely. Garvit, if we can just elaborate on that part. In the
Yeah,
meantime, we can pick up the second question, which is actually
yeah, sure.
also from Garvit. And he has asked, like, what would you advise to the people who are freshers and who are competing against people who are experienced in this industry?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I understand it's challenging and I spoke about that. So I think, see, for freshers, I would suggest that, I mean, don't, first of all, don't take so much of pressure because this industry is growing, right? And any kind of experience that you can bring in, right? Be it in terms of any project that you would have done through online or anything, any kind of experience or any internship or etc. I know it's a lot of internships are not even happening right now, but whatever experience that you can bring in, because practical experience I'm talking about, that will be very, very handy, right? And secondly, I would say that don't see that you are competing against the experienced folks, right? Because most of the firms that are interviewing will have a clear criteria, right? Whether they need a fresher or they need a the experienced folks. So you're not actually competing with them, right? You're just looking for the right opportunity to come in. And I would say that whatever opportunity you get in, right, it could be in terms of any practical exposure that you can actually get in from anywhere, right, be it in terms of the organization or through any project that you can do or freelancing that you can, as I was talking about, a lot of contract is on hire. So you can do a lot of freelancing also, right? So I would suggest that try to get as much as possible. And of course, be a little more patient. I'm sure there are organizations who are still looking to do a lot of induction for freshers also. It's not like that there are no companies at all. There are many companies. Of course, I can't take the names in this forum, but of course, there are many companies who are still hiring freshers. So I would suggest that three things, right? Be patient, try to look for practical exposure, and don't feel that you are actually competing against any experienced folks, because the way the companies are going to judge them is very, very different from the way the expectations is going to be from freshers. So there is no real comparison actually in that. But yeah, I do agree that a lot of uh, jobs you may see will be for experienced people. So you may get overwhelmed by that thing, but uh, don't get bothered by that thing too much. Okay, maybe you
Sure.
can.
Yeah, sure, Parul. Thank you so much. Garvit had just mentioned it was related to one of the call center examples, but I think we can just provide him with
Okay,
a answer related to like where people can refer for interview related materials, so that like I think that will actually help a
okay.
lot of people who are looking
So
to gain some more. Yeah.
yeah, so contact center, I think I gave example of NBA, right? National Bank of Australia. So I think, I mean, you can simply Google and see, the interview of the CEO of National Bank of Australia, who actually posted in his one of his interviews. It was a public interview, so you can Google that. And I think what you can also do is, I'm not sure, Anugar, if you can send them this presentation later on. But in my first slide, I had posted two links of the white paper that I had written. So in that white paper also, you can get links of such interviews or anything that I have taken reference from.
Definitely, definitely. We will actually post the presentation for everyone in
Okay.
this in the description, so everyone can take it down from there. So
Okay.
I hope that should be helpful. Next question is from Dipankar, and it is also something similar to Garvit's question. He's saying, "Ma'am, in current situation, being a student, what should be done from a student's perspective?" I think it's a college student related questions. That is a lot of people who are having.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I mean, I have full empathy with students, right? Because it has been tough here, and most of the classes are happening online, and we are not used to of it for sure. But see, I think, I mean, what I would suggest is that, and that applies to everyone, right? You have to be patient. That's very, very important. And secondly, is that try to learn a lot, because data science is one area where there is huge amount of material online, and a lot of it is actually free of cost also. So I would suggest that, go and look for it and try to absorb as much as possible, so that once things go even better. So for example, I was talking, right, in August, starting August, it's been almost 2 months. Starting August, the market has picked up. So we are on the lines of things getting better, and I'm pretty sure the next year is definitely going to be much better than the current year. But I would suggest that, don't look for that we may go back to pre-COVID times anytime soon. I don't see that happening. So we have to adapt to the current ways. We have to get acquainted with the fact that a lot of learning will happen online, a lot of networking will happen online. So try to leverage that as much as possible. And of course, it has been a tough year. So you're not, the students, of course, have had their own set of challenges. Working people have had their own set of challenges. So overall, it has been a tough year. But I think from here on, things will get better on only. So try to be patient and just try to, I would say, learn as much as possible, because the knowledge will never go in waste. That's something that I can assure you.
Thank you, Parul. The next question is from Prem James, and he asked, "What would be your advice for a person who is having 15 years of experience in any domain and just finished the certification as data science field?"
See, I mean, I don't know about your background, so it's little tough to tell like that what your experience has been in 15 years. Maybe if you can brief, it would help. But my assumption is that, you were a part of a different industry, and you've probably done a certification in data science, and you're looking to move into this field, is what I understood. I'm not sure. You can maybe elaborate a little bit more. That may help. A little bit on your background, I think that may help.
Definitely, yeah. Prem, if you're there, you can just elaborate a little bit more, so Parul can actually give you a more valid suggestion on that thing. So moving on to the next question, we have a question from Vignesh. He's saying there are some data pipeline tools which offer business intelligence. Is it really useful? I think the question is it more relevant in the industry like that?
Data pipeline tools. I'm not sure if you can maybe talk about which tool you're talking about. That would be useful. But I think, see, my suggestion would be that don't be too focused on the tool. Of course, look for tools which are slightly global in nature, right? Which can be easily, which are there in demand as well. So, for example, I talk about Power BI, right? It's a skill in demand, right? So, if you are trying to upskill yourself, I would suggest that go for tools which are relevant in the market as well. Be it from an engineering perspective, Azure or AWS or GCP, or from the visualization side, it could be Power BI or Tableau. Go for tools which are more relevant and more in demand. I think that would just help you in actually in your jobs as well. So my suggestion would be then go for tools which are in demand and relevant, and which are used known across the markets.
Sure. Thanks, Parul. So Prem had just written back, and he's saying that he's from supply chain. So the question will
Okay.
be 15 years experience in supply chain and did a certification as data science. Now, like, what is the way to approach the further steps on it?
See, I think, I mean, of course, it's a very generic question. So I will also answer it very generically, because I don't know because are you looking to move into core data science? Then probably the answer is that one certification may not help you. For sure, you have to go for a specialized course or something if you're planning to make a switch. Because the problem with a lot of the online courses, like 3 weeks or 4 weeks certification, is that they do provide you, but they do provide you with a lot of theoretical knowledge. So while theoretical knowledge is good, Practical knowledge is also very, very important, which you get by doing your hands-on work and doing some projects. So given you are very experienced, for sure you can add a lot of domain knowledge, but my sense is just doing a certification may not really help you to transition. If you are looking for that transition, actually you might have to invest a lot more time into doing that.
Thank you, Parul. I think that brings to the end of the questions. Like, if in case there are any questions, you can just post it right now, or we will close the session in a few minutes.
Sure. Maybe you can wait for a few more minutes and see if people have questions. We can, or if somebody has any follow-up question, please feel free to post.
Yeah, but I think that we have come to the end of the discussion. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining with us today. And thank you so much, Parul, for sharing your thoughts and insights with us. And for more insightful sessions like these, please do subscribe to Great Learning so that you are always updated with the industry trends and more content related to the data science. And thank you so much again, and see you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Bye bye.